This is my review of the ARmeator Wireless MEAT Thermometer. It should be noted I am not paid for this product review, and my findings and opinions are freely my own. Now first, I'm going to start with the areas that I think need improvement, and then we're going to go on to the positive areas that I really like. First, I am unable to change the final temperature once the cook is started. I have to stop the monitoring, change the new temp, and restart. I then lose the entire cooking trend, as I now have to go look at both graphs if I were able to see it. This should be fixed where anyone can change the final temp as they want at any time. It is very common to adjust that final temperature for me at a time depending on outside ambient air temperature, how fast I notice the meat temperature is rising, and if something unexpected is happening, I may want to adjust that temperature. Next up, when the probe is running, you cannot see your historical cooks. I can on my other wireless probes, and I should note I am running the latest of the iOS version, 16.5, and that didn't work, and I'm now running beta 3 and still am unable to see historical information. And ARmeator version is 1.21 with a firmware version of 4.0 as of April 28th, 2023. Now additionally, the temperature graph, in my opinion, is too hard to read as it has gray letters. I would make them lighter, maybe a little bit of a dull white if you don't want an extreme contrast, or just white, but I think it's too hard to read. The other issue I had is the history does not load at all for me, so I have no idea what the last 3 cooks that I did were on this device. Now next thing is there is a no pre-alarm that's present on the temperature warning, so the temperature notified me when it hit the final temp, but there was no warning when it was close to the final temp. So the only workaround I found, which may work as a workaround, is using the range feature, where you can set a range in the software of a temperature range, so if it falls below or above that range, it'll set the alarm off. It really isn't a pre-notification, it's a range temp, and that's the only way I can find to make that work at this time. Now this is all application related and nothing to do with the ARmeator probe itself. After my open fire cook, I had a warning beep at 179 degrees Fahrenheit as I was resting the meat that I had cooked to 195 degrees. I'm assuming this was the temperature drop, but it doesn't say why there was a warning going off, and the signal disconnected earlier, as you'll see in the video, and I got the same beep or the same notification, but again, there was no notice that it was a disconnect, and I have no idea what the beeping alarm was about. So we're gonna go about 100 feet. I think probably only can go maybe 125, 150 feet to the edge of the property here. Let's go ahead and check if we have a signal. Okay, so we're maybe 125 feet away, 150 max from the repeater. I am around the side of the house, which is all stucco, and I did lose the signal. So I'm gonna walk back and we're gonna see when it connects. I did hear a very loud beep, which was kind of nice on the side of the house, which was when it disconnected. So that was a nice alarm, but I wanna go ahead and see if we reconnect. And I'm gonna walk back to about the 75-foot mark. We're gonna check and see if we reconnected. It did reconnect here. So about 75 feet in. Now, in all fairness, this was going through the entire house, the signal with the stucco, and I have a metal external patio out here. So it is a lot to go through. I'm not surprised that it dropped. And again, the footage is in clear distance. So it doesn't mean that it didn't work. It actually works very well. But when I got to that limit through stucco and steel and everything else, it dropped off. But it looked like around 80 feet or so was where I was at. And that's good because in the backyard, I usually don't go around there. But if I do, the nice thing is with some of the other units that I've tested, it did not automatically reconnect. I had to go back, hit the button. This thing immediately reconnected without me doing anything, which is actually a really great thing. Now, when my probe reconnected, I thought everything would be fine, and it is. It did reconnect, but it killed my cook. So I had to go back in again, put in the temperature I wanted to be at, hit the start button, so I lost all of my history for this cook. Another thing that really, it should hold that if it loses connection. When it reconnects, it should start back up, hopefully where it left off. It's probably just a feature enhancement, but it is something I've noticed with other wireless thermometers as well. This one did the same thing. Now, the next thing is finding that there's no external temperature rating. But that's only if you have an issue. If you really want to see external temperature, which I personally have found to never be accurate on wireless thermometers. And I personally want a very accurate internal temperature and watching that range as that temperature increases. And I really don't care about the external temp because I kind of know what I'm cooking at. And in the case of high heat, in the 700 to 900 degrees Fahrenheit range, I hit 600 grilling steaks all the time. It's really important that I don't burn the probe out. And other probes would absolutely fry the electronics at the end of that sensor at the temperatures that I've been cooking at for this test, but they did great on the ceramic tip of the ARmeator. Now, the one thing that's great is this thing has been licking fire for almost an hour and a half. Some of the flames have gotten up, and for sure I can see that probe that I'll show you has gotten black or blacker, and therefore it has really been taking the heat. So far, there's been no issues with any disconnects sitting here or any fluctuations in the temperature. So far, the ceramic tip seems to be doing its job as temperature resistant. And the last thing is the algorithm that companies use to compute when the food is done. There's no algorithm for this. And that's by choice of the company, as they feel that algorithms are not accurate. And I absolutely agree with that. And it's not something that's going to be very accurate, not until they really improve the technology. And I don't think that's really a critical fault of anything. It's just a feature you're not going to get on the ARmeator. Now, the positives that I like. For Apple users, this is a hallelujah, can I get an amen? There are no location services required. Finally, yes! Other probes require that to be turned on, and it drives me nuts and leave it on, and that just sucks your battery. And I don't think it's anyone's business where I'm cooking my food. Fortunately, ARmeator agrees, and on the Android OS, you do need to turn it on just to set it up and make the connection, but once that is done, you can turn it off. So either way, the company's not interested in tracking you and your location data. Now, you don't get your phone battery sucked down, which is the big, huge plus. And for that, I give high praise to ARmeator for making sure we don't need location services turned on all the time. The probe itself with the big white ceramic formed flawlessly in the fire that I cooked with as it passed through countless number of times as the rotisserie was spinning around. And the tip was going into the fire about every 10 seconds, where past probes from 2 different manufacturers I had blew their sensors. And with this ceramic tip, there was no issue with the high heat, and I guarantee you this is up around the 900 degree range. It does go 900 degree plus. For 600 or 700 degrees, you're gonna blow out other thermometers, and for those, that's a problem. Now, this unit is certified up to 923 degrees Fahrenheit, and this means for open fire cooking, you can definitely cook with a lot less concern that you'll blow out your thermometer. Now, the third plus was the white ceramic tip here. It wiped right off, and all the black spots and the soot that were all over this, as you can see here, came off with no effort. Mild dish soap and water turned into a bright and shiny ceramic again, absolutely spotless. With the other devices with black tips, I really had to scrub that stuff and the edges to get it clean, not on this one. Finally, for 1.5 hours walking around in the house and outside, I had 0 issues with connectivity. The only time I did drop is when I walked around my house, over the side, through a metal screened-in patio area about 85 feet away and behind the house, which is stucco and metal and studs. So no surprise, it dropped at that point. But with the other units, I had disconnects randomly, just sitting there or being 50 feet away, doing nothing with clear line of sight. So the connectivity with clear line of sight with this so far has not had any issue. Now, the battery life appears to be as stated. It states that it will last 72 plus hours. And after 1.5 hours, it didn't even appear to be a drop of my battery. Now, I'm not sure if that's another issue or it's sipping battery. So in fact, I only used, say, 1% of the battery for an hour, hour and a half cook. That's pretty incredible. And charging the battery is done in only 15 minutes. I mean, 15 minutes, that's awesome. And that's crazy. I don't know anybody that charges that fast at all so far of the manufacturers I've tested that are out there on the market. Now, as I do with all my reviews, I've provided detailed feedback to the company, and they have told me that they are taking all of my information under review, which I really admire. As I've said in other reviews, providing a number review, such as 10 out of 10 or 1 out of 10 is very subjective, but if I had to assign a score, it would be a 5 out of 10. And I think that's because the thermometer itself is great. It takes high heat, it has no drops during the cook, and it has very long battery life and a quick charge. I think the real issue here is the software. It's about 50% of the way where it should be, and it really needs to be added to, improved, and adjusted. Now, should the company address all these issues to the level of other wireless thermometer companies at the top of the barbecue and cooking world, I think this has the potential to be a dedicated high heat probe that solves many of the issues that the other probes have, minus the food time to completion algorithm, which is not going to be added to this, and the external temperature indicator, which this was not designed to do, as it really is meant to be a super high heat probe that will not burn out when you hit over 900 degrees Fahrenheit. As Steve Jobs said, innovation is not about saying yes to everything, it's about saying no to all but the most crucial features, as well as seeing innovation as the ability to see change as an opportunity and not a threat. There is a massive opportunity here, and if that opportunity is capitalized upon, then this thermometer will have an absolutely very clear advantage over some of the other wireless thermometers that are out there on the market today. For now, there needs to be many improvements before I think this is ready for use without major gaps in functionality. Until next time, smoke on, baby!